This is the underfloor heating manifold. These pipes are in pairs and each one is a loop that goes on the ground floor only with hot water from the air source heat pump, which we'll show you in a second, and loops around under the floor and back to this manifold, warming the floor up and with it the house. Each room contains a thermostat. In the natural state, the thermostat will show the temperature of the room. You can then alter the times, but I would suggest that you leave those as they are for the moment. And then you set the temperature. And obviously the loop will only then activate when the room temperature drops below this temperature. So at the moment the loop is not going to come on, so the room won't be heated by the underfloor. Here are the controls. These are how you set the times. I'll send a PDF with instructions for setting that, but once again I would personally leave it as it is. And this one controls the towel rails as heated from the air source heat pump. If you want them heated by the air source heat pump, especially in the winter, the best thing to do is to leave that on continuous. The hot water, the best thing I would suggest would be to leave it on continuously all the time. Down here, this switch should always be on. This is the immersion heater that takes the water in the cylinder up hot enough so that any bugs that are present in our natural mains water that can grow once you get that water warm, that the water is heated up enough to pasteurize it to kill off any bugs, i.e. Legionnaires. So that should always be left on. But that isn't doing the bulk of the hot water heating. All the time that this is switched on, then the air source heat pump is doing the bulk of heating up of the hot water, which is the more economical way of heating the hot water. If what's quite common with these manifolds on any underfloor heating system is that one of these actuator heads can get seized, and then you'll get a loop of pipe that doesn't get hot. So it doesn't matter what you press on the thermostat, that loop won't activate. In larger rooms there'll be more than one loop of pipe. So you might have half of a room gets heated and the other half doesn't, because the loop on one side might not be functioning because of a stuck actuator. There's an easy way of telling in the winter when the whole system is working. These flow valves, these red discs, will all be down in a position to show the flow rate through the manifold. But it's obviously, if you have a problem like that, just to call us in. This is the air source heat pump. There's really nothing, there's a controller there, but that should just be left alone. There's no user settings that need to be altered by the end user there. That's for the engineer to alter settings. What is important here is that there's water isolation here for the ensuite that's opposite. There's isolation here for this outside tap, and there's isolation for the whole house there, so if there was ever an emergency, the water can be shut off here. That shuts off the whole house. You can hear that the heat pump's just kicked in. It's quite normal for that fan to be running, and it should be running all the time that we're trying to heat the hot water or the house. So then on to here in where the cylinder is. This is where the hot water is stored. This here is the pressure in the heating system. And you can see it's on 1.5 bar at the moment. And down here is the filling loop. If the pressure in the heating system drops too low, then the heat pump will shut off. It has a pressure switch that will shut off. Sometimes all that you need to do is turn these valves in line, and the same with this one, in line, and watch this gauge till it goes back up to 1.5 bar as it is right now. And then remember to turn both valves back off afterwards. This is the thermostat for the hot water via the air source heat pump, and shouldn't be altered. This is the immersion heater. This has its own thermostat inside, and again that shouldn't be altered. This is the main electrical isolation for the heating system. If there is a serious problem, then it can be shut down here. The light switch for this cupboard. And these are the motorised zone valves controlling the flow of hot water to the hot water cylinder coil and the tail rail circuit, which I'll talk about next. All the tail rails have a switch by them which heats an electric element inside. This should only ever have a 3 amp fuse put in it. If the fuse blows and it doesn't heat up via the element. You can, as explained, also heat the tail rails downstairs with the controller. The most economical way to do it is probably via the heat pump, although these are only 150 watts, so it is not a big energy use just to leave this switched on here. And these valves can just be left as they are, open. Upstairs in every room there is a different style of thermostat. I'll be sending a PDF file with the instructions for these.
To adjust the comfort levels, start by pressing the clock button. You will first adjust the wake setting for weekdays. Use the arrow buttons to select your wake time, then press H. Now use the arrow buttons to select the desired temperature, then press H. You can now adjust the leave comfort level. Again, use the arrow buttons to adjust the time, followed by H. Then select the desired temperature. Repeat this process for the return and sleep settings. When you have set all 4 comfort levels, use the same process to set your desired comfort levels for the weekend. If you prefer to use only 2 comfort levels, say wake and leave, use the arrow buttons and H button to set return and sleep as shown here. Following any changes made, press A to complete. Weekday and weekend programming is the default setting for your thermostat. However, if you prefer, you can set different comfort levels for each day of the week by changing your thermostat to 7-day programming. To do this, hold the power button for 3 seconds so that the thermostat turns off. Now, by holding the clock button until the display powers up, you will enter the configuration menu. Repeatedly press the clock button until the small number on the display reaches 12. Now press an arrow button to change 0 to 0, 1. Press A to complete. Now when you press the power button, the thermostat will allow 7-day programming.